Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is part 6 of Sunshower, Aizawa, ex-female listener, ex-present Mike. Enjoy! The teacher could see that he had lost control of the class in the wake of the sudden rose delivery and called the class's attention back to himself in an attempt to move on with the rest of the lesson. Okay, that's enough. Thank you, class. Let's get back on with the lesson. Yin, I'll give you a few minutes to go and put the roses in He paused, knowing your locker wasn't going to be able to hold both bouquets of flowers, let alone one lot, and changed course. You're welcome to take them to the staff room and have them kept there and then pick them up at the end of the day, he added. Yes, sir, you said, still hiding your face between the bunches as you got up and left the room quickly, mad wind whipping around your bouquets as you basically ran from the room. As the teacher got back to the lesson, Aizawa thought back over what had happened to have gotten to this moment in time. It had been the day earlier that he had wanted to buy some roses for Valentine's Day and had been saving up his money for it. After school that day, he'd gone to the local florist to place his order, but as he had walked to the corner of the shop, he'd heard his best friend Hizashi's voice from inside. Yes, please! The biggest bunch you have! Aizawa heard Hisashi say. She must be real special if you want the biggest bunch, the shop owner had joked lightly. Oh yes, she's worth 1,000,000 times more than all the roses in the world. This is just a token, Hisashi had replied back in his usual chipper voice. Aizawa stood still and listened, curious to see who these flowers were for. Fair enough, the shop owner mused. And what's the name of the lucky recipient? He asked. Yin Lin, Hisashi said, and Aizawa stiffened at hearing your name come rolling off his lips. The only one I admire and adore. Lucky girl, the shop owner said. Is there a message you'd like to leave with these flowers when they get delivered? Oh yes, Hisashi said brightly. But please, don't add my name. Please put, Dear Yin, I care a lot about you, and I hope that this size of bunch of roses reaches you, pushing towards you my feelings that are as large as this bunch of roses are, Hisashi said eloquently, having practiced the romantic line over a few times in his head earlier that day. Aizawa's heart started to beat a little faster as he stood out of sight, listening in on the conversation. She will definitely receive your feelings, the owner promised. Now, would you like to make a payment for them in full? Valentine's Day is tomorrow. Oh, yes, Hisashi said confidently. I've been saving. I'll bet you have, the owner said with a chuckle. That will be 188 American dollars. Hisashi froze for a second. Sorry, did you say 188? He asked. Yes, the owner said. It's a busy time of year. Wholesalers have put their prices up, so it's harder to sell them cheaper, he added. Hisashi hummed unsurely. I wasn't quite expecting it to be that much. Well, you can leave a down payment, the owner said. But if someone else comes in needing roses, we can only hold them for so long. Valentine's Day is tomorrow, and you need to be back here by tonight at the latest to make full payment or you'll lose them, he cautioned. Oh, I'll be back. I'll put the down payment, and then I'll somehow get the rest of the money and be back later, I promise, Hisashi said emphatically. Very well, the owner replied, organising for the down payment to be made. Hisashi left his deposit and then thanked the owner and left in a hurry, missing Aizawa as the latter quickly slipped back behind the corner of the building so as not to be seen. Once Hisashi had left, Aizawa entered the shop and walked to the counter. I'd like to buy your largest bunch of roses for someone, he said blandly. Make them the same size as the guy who just left here. And also, let me pay the remaining amount on his roses. It's important that they get to the person he wants them to go to. The owner looked at him with a look of respect in his eye. That's a very kind, thoughtful thing to do for a stranger, he said. I do know him. He's my best friend, Aizawa said, pulling his wallet from his pocket. Ah, best wingman, the owner said. Something like that, Aizawa said as he pulled out some money. Now, let me make payment. First of all, he paid for the roses from Hisashi, and then he placed his order. Now, who's the lucky person to receive these? The owner said pleasantly. Yin Lin, Aizawa said, and the owner paused immediately when he heard your name for the second time in 10 minutes. He looked up at Aizawa, and the dull-eyed male just looked at him with a neutral expression on his face. So, not wingman then, the owner finally said with a chuckle. I respect your fair play. Thank you, Aizawa replied. Now, the owner said after writing your name down. Would you like to leave a message? After completing his order, Aizawa left and went home, satisfied with himself and his actions. It was close to closing time when Hizashi had come sprinting back to the shop. He had managed to get the rest of the money and was keen to go back before he lost his order to someone else. But when he got there, the shop was crowded with people and the owner was constantly picking up the phone as it rang non-stop. It was chaos. Nervously, Hizashi waited in line, fidgeting as he watched more and more orders get written down on the owner's book on the counter. Oh, I hope I can still complete my payment. I should have ordered earlier, he berated himself as he stepped forwards. Finally, it came his time to the front of the line, and the phone started ringing again right when he stepped up. Sorry, the owner said to him as he picked up the phone. Give me 1 second. He then greeted the customer on the phone. Hello, all florals, no morals, this is Ted speaking, he greeted. The person on the other end started talking, and Ted looked at Hizashi, finally recognizing him as the guy from before and smiling. Yes, he said into the phone as he wrote something down. And how many would you like? There was a pause as the person on the other end of the line started talking to somebody else, and the owner took the opportunity to quickly talk to Hizashi. Pressed for time, he only said the bare minimum, and so hurriedly blurted out, It's not here anymore. Done. Come back next year. Thank you for your patronage. Hizashi was confused. What did he mean it's not here anymore? But before he could ask anything, the person on the other end of the line started talking again and took the attention of the owner. Defeated, Hizashi stood there for a second longer, but the owner waved him off, indicating that he could leave now. With his shoulders hunched, he turned and left the front of the line. Didn't he hold the order for me? He thought as he left the shop, his eyes downcast and his feet dragging as he slowly walked home. That next day, when both bouquets had shown up, Hizashi had thought that someone else had given the roses to you and had been sitting there in a puddle of regret. But when Aizawa had correctly said the statement that he had attached as his message to the roses, he had known that it had been Aizawa who had made sure that they'd been delivered. Did he buy them on my behalf? He thought, as he sat there not listening to a word the teacher was saying. I'll ask him after class. You returned after handing your giant bunches of roses over to the school staff to mind for you, and took your seat again in class with a flurry of wind whipping around you as you tried to compose yourself. Both boys could see you were flustered, and both low-key worried that the embarrassment of the situation would backfire and make you not want to talk to them again. But a few times after that you stole little glances at each of them and gave them a small, bashful smile which calmed their fears. It was as class was ending that you disappeared quickly, so Hizashi sidled up to his black-haired friend. Hey, I have a question, Hizashi asked in a hushed voice, as hushed as he could be, given his usual loud nature. Yes, Aizawa asked as they walked together back to the lockers, not looking at him. Did, Hizashi started. Pay for the rest of the flowers. Yes, I saw you in there and heard the conversation, he admitted, still not looking at his friend. So, you know then, Hizashi said softly, that I like her. Yes, Aizawa replied with a nod, still not making eye contact. And you bought her the other ones? Hizashi pried. Yes, Aizawa said as he stopped and made direct eye contact with his friend. Because I like her too. It's the confession. Stay tuned for next week, chapter 7. We will see what happens. I'll see you then.